interviewed, in almost 10 years, Peter has helped more people. I hear from people all the time that he has helped with these past life or deja vu kinds of issues. He's quite remarkable. He's very good at that. Huh. Okay.
Now, Mikey says it's a real concept, and that's
it's a real issue. Yeah.
It is,
yeah.
and it's from a past life that's what can trigger this. Because we can recall it. See, a similar situation that can give us that feeling or that emotion. So it's interesting. I mean, but it explains a lot of things if people believe in more than one life here. It explains a lot of things in life, actually, if you believe that you come here more than once, because I will certainly say life is.
There's no question that we do have many lives. I developed a fear of stepping off a high place when I was in my sort of mid to late teens, and then when I learned about the possibility that we have previous lives, I started remembering this lifetime of being a Native American kid who believed he could fly. And I started having these flashes of I think it was a religious thing, being so pure that I could fly and stepping off a high place. And as soon as I started having this concrete memory, I began to get over this fear of stepping off a high place. It was very weird. It was because I had been this Native American kid who actually tried it, and obviously it didn't work. And that was the end of that lifetime. But that's the kind of thing which we often need help with that. And that's the kind of thing that Peter does. He's good. He's very good at it.
It explains so many things. I mean, it really explains a lot of things in life if you think about it. I mean, it really does. These influences from previous lives. So it's interesting, and it actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, if this is a one-time shot, life's pretty unfair.
Yes. That's right. So. Yeah, who's dealing these cards, and when do we get a redeal? But if we have more than one life, then there's a lot of shuffling that's going to go on, which is a good thing. That's right.
Right. That's right.
Anyway, all right, here's one I've been looking forward to getting to. I'm waiting to hear what he says about this. Are there more civilizations like the Earth has in this dimension?
No. So he'll say no to this dimension, but yes to other dimensions. So,
okay, Mikey, I want to hear about this. All right, there are no more civilizations like the Earth in this dimension?
Like ours, not like the Earth in this dimension. But he says in other dimensions, yes. Now there's, of course, he talks about infinite dimensions, but he's directing that question at civilizations like here on Earth. Again, he says, Earth is truly, probably, in his opinion, one of the toughest schools or places that we come for spiritual growth. He says may I just interject?
He is not the only one to say this. This seems to be a universal opinion. Okay, go ahead. I love hearing this. All right, go ahead.
He says this is really hard here. It's tough here. And so if is there anything else like this in this dimension? No. But he says in other dimensions, yes. And so this too is where, and we've talked about this before, but, interdimensional travelers, so we're going to say extraterrestrials or ETs or whatever you want to say, where something appears and then it vanishes out of our vision. It's when their vibration, of course, resonates and matches with this dimension, then you can see them. But then when they, change their vibration, you can no longer see them.
Yes.
Mikey says that's even how visions are that we see of loved ones. If they can resonate close enough to this dimension, then you can see them. So it's all energy. Again, everything is energy. And so these dimensions can be very close together in vibration, but yet they're different. And so Mikey says we need to remember that and understand that concept, because here in this dimension, I mean, the earth is the biggie here. This is the hard civilization here. This is really tough business. And so he says the drive to come here is immense because it's such great potential for spiritual growth for us.
Yes.
To come here. And so, but is there anything else like this in this same dimension? He tells me no. But he also says in other dimensions, yes, there's other civilizations and other places we go for spiritual growth where we take on a shell, not necessarily an earthly shell like what we have that appears now to us here. But he says Earth is still, he still considers Earth by far the toughest place to come.
Weren't we dumb? Stop and think about this for a minute. What were we ever thinking?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's really, I mean, as we all know, I mean, this is one complicated, tough place.
Well, we at least should be taking it more seriously. I really do believe that. I mean,
right.
The more I think about it, the more I think we really ought to be taking more seriously the fact that there is so much more here for us to learn and grow from. And we tend to really try to just skate along the surface if we possibly can, rather than really digging deep and taking it much more seriously, because there is so much potential for growth here that we are not taking it sufficiently seriously.
I don't think people know. Well, you know, people are, sometimes I think people, that's what makes it so hard here is you get wound up in society rules, ego, materialism, and that's the heart. Mikey says that's why this is so hard here, is because you get caught up in all this, you know, and it's hard. It's hard to not get sucked into that and, you know, look at the big picture. But there's so many messages out there. You know, I see people walking around with, you know, T-shirts. In fact, there was a gal walking by me the other day where she had a T-shirt on that says, "Be kind." Okay, that's all her T-shirt said, was "Be kind." Well, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. You know, I mean, think about if people were just kind, how far that takes you in spiritual progression. If that's to the best of your ability, you're nice. I mean, Mikey says being nice takes you a long way.
Right. Or love. Just thinking about loving first, and that, you know, we had that message 2,000 years ago, and then they wrapped it in all of these dogmas. Where has that taken us after all this time? I mean, there is Jesus, that in a nutshell. I've thought about that vision ever since. There is Jesus loving all those children whose mothers threw them away.
Right. So it's, yeah. I mean, what can you say?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, my Thomas was enraged by that. I mean, of course, he gets enraged. Jesus doesn't. He just loves.
And anything with love as the basis is positive. And so, again, you know, Mikey always says everything is energy. Everything. A pencil is energy. A desk is energy. Yeah. Everything is energy. And so, you know, if you're positive in your way as much, and obviously we're human and we have downfalls and stuff, but if you can be loving and positive in your ways, it's huge, you know, to do it at the best of your ability. It's a big deal. I mean, it helps you significantly on the spiritual aspect of things. And so, you know, Mikey always says the higher your vibration, the more loving the more elaborate your reality is when you return to the afterlife. And so it's something to think about. I mean, it definitely is something to think about, for sure.
Has he had thoughts about his experience on Earth. I mean, he was here from 87 to 07. So so he has been, and I just want to put in a little plug for his book, because I studied the afterlife for 50 years. I think that in some ways, his book, Flying High in Spirit, a young snowboarder's account of his ride through heaven. Does he still snowboard, by the way?
Oh, he always says he still does. I don't think he'll ever give that up. He excuse me, he does, he says he gets together with loved ones and even will play baseball and stuff. I mean, he still likes to do earthly fun things with other souls. I mean, Mikey's Mikey. I mean, he's all over the place, and he says he loves that. It's something he really enjoys, and that was something that he never experienced in a previous lifetime here. Snowboarding was a new sport, see?
1600s was the last time he had been here, and he still plays with his dogs that he had when he was here.
Yes, he still has the dogs. And, in fact, I have to say, I had such a great dream. It was so real. And I know it was a visitation dream from my last two dogs that were here on Earth, Mork and Mindy. And the dream was so awesome. Mikey was not in it, but the dogs were in it, and so fun. And I was having so much fun with these dogs. And so the next morning I asked Mikey, I said, I had so much fun with Mork and Mindy last night. And I said, that to me was a visitation dream from them. And he said, absolutely, Mom, that was. They were letting you know that they're still doing great and they're around and they'll be here when you come. And it was, it just never ends. I mean, those connections, whether it's a loving person that we've had, that we've enjoyed here, or our pets, they are there and they'll be there when we return back home to the afterlife. And so the dream was such good validation for me. And Mikey said, oh yeah, no, they can give visitation dreams too. So anyway, those connections just don't end with anything.
No, right. And it's important for people who have lost pets to understand that every animal you ever have loved, you have formed a permanent connection with that pet. That pet will be there waiting for you. That's one of the things we are most certain of. And it's a wonderful gift to people who love animals. Those animals will be waiting for you, guaranteed. That's a permanent connection.
And Mikey says, it's our vibration, it's our loving energy that maintains that connections, that. So, yes. I mean, everything is energy. I mean, that's a very important piece. I mean, that's truly what it is it's energy. It's our energy that attracts us to each other again when we return. So interesting anyway.
It is. And it is fun to think that he did make these connections when he came here much more recently, and that they're permanent connections that he's now made, and he's enjoying this 20th, 21st century life that he wouldn't have if he hadn't come back for that brief lifetime. I love it. I really do love it. But
so we still do. Yeah, we still do the things we enjoy. I don't know that he'll ever not do that. I don't know, but
it really, he
loves. That's something he really loves. So
it is quite wonderful. But according to Thomas, and he's sort of my what he gives me some inside stories. Much more serious person though than Mikey, even than Jesus. But he tells me that what Mikey did by doing that was such an extraordinary thing. We see it as just sort of a light thing. He sort of enriched his eternal life too, but it was considered such an extreme sacrifice for him to spend that time, that 20 years on Earth, that he raised his status there so much that I asked him once, I said, when he did that, did he raise his status there? And he said, well, all right, I'm looking up now. You can't see it, he said, but I'm looking up at the heavens above me, and I see a star up there. That is Mikey. That's how much higher Mikey's status is now.